Orzin is the first company to release not just one, but two projectors with Roku OS built into them. Introducing the Aurzen EAZZE D1R and D1R Cube. Basically, they're combining a high-quality Orzin projector with the ease of Roku OS. Today, we're going to be comparing the two models' specs and features so you can decide which one is best for your home. Inside the box for both devices is pretty similar for the most part. You get matching Roku remotes. These are pretty handy because they have streaming shortcuts, volume controls, and your rewind and fast forward. They also include pretty long power cables. Now, these are the exact same. The only difference is for the D1R model, the power port is actually located on the bottom. So they give you this kind of hinged plug-in where it can fit and still lay flat. The other one is just a straightforward plug-in because it's located on the back of the device. Now, these have slightly different designs. As you can tell, one is a cube, thus the name, and the other is more of a flat design. Let's start with the D1R, which is your flat model. It has its front-facing lens and sensors right here. On the bottom, you have your classic mounting option, and it has this little knob right here, which we can actually screw out a little bit to let it rest on a bit of an angle. There are some controls on the top of the machine. It has the power button, your back button, and then some directional controls with a OK button. The design for the Cube is very similar. Instead of going for width, you're going for height in this case, using up a little less room on surfaces. We can see right here, if we kind of stack them on top of each other, it's about half the width. It's basically like if we took the D1R and turned it sideways, you'd get the Cube version. Pretty close. Now, this also has a mounting stand on the bottom, but instead of having a little twist off piece, you actually have this little lip that we can push up like this to let it rest on an angle as well. So you can see it's going to sit a little bit higher. You still have that front facing lens with a little sensor on the bottom, a nice fabric design on the side. And now let's talk ports for both these devices because they are also very similar. So let's start with the D1R right here, where you have a USB-A, an HDMI in, you have a headphone jack, and then a little reset button. For the D1R Cube, you have USB, HDMI, headphone jack, reset switch, and the power button is actually located on the back instead of at the top on this model. The biggest difference here is with the D1R Cube, you're not getting any directional controls, so you can't really use it without the remote. But Roku has a solution if you ever lose this that we'll talk about a little bit later in the video. So let's talk specs. There's only a few minor differences between the two systems, so I'm gonna have my editor put up a comparison chart and highlight any differences so you can see what they are. Starting with the resolution, where they are exactly the same, 1920 by 1080 full HD. Neither of these systems have Dolby Vision, but they do include Dolby Audio. In terms of speakers, the D1R has dual 5-watt, where the D1R Cube has 10-watt speakers. Both come with Bluetooth 5.2 and dual band Wi-Fi. For screen size, both projectors are listed to be able to be used between 80 inches all the way up to 150. The real major difference here comes in the lumens. The D1R is equipped with 280, which is honestly pretty good for a projector at this price point. Where the D1R Cube, that has a slightly higher price tag, comes with 50 more at 330 lumens. Now, what a lot of you care about, how good is the video quality? So instead of just testing one, we're going to be doing comparison tests in 3 different environments. Now, these are pretty low lumen projectors, so they're not really meant to be used in full daylight or even partial, but I still want to show you in those environments just so you can get an idea. We'll be taking a look at full daylight, then with the curtains closed and a little bit of ambient lighting, and lastly, where it should look by far the best, complete darkness. Before we move on and talk about the brightness comparison, there is one other difference I forgot about in the previous section. Now, the Roku D1R Cube is just full HD 1080p. The major difference with the regular D1R is it does come with HDR10 as well, meaning you might get slightly more vibrant colors. When I do a projector review, I like to really talk about the brightness because it's a major aspect of what you're buying. And the reality is, so many companies, this is very unfortunate, straight up lie about brightness. So it's really something you need to look into first before you purchase one. I've actually called companies out on this before in the past and they have not liked it. but every single time I review Orzin, their brightness is on point, and there's a few ways we know this. They are SGS certified, meaning they've had an external testing company actually check the lumens to make sure it's legit. I provided the certification, and you guys can see this little video of how the testing process works. And here is the side-by-side comparison of both projectors. As you can see, they are barely usable in these types of environments. You can kind of see the show or movie, but it's not something I would recommend, and also not something that Orzin says these are meant for. I just like to show this so you have a general understanding of how it looks like if you have a very lit up room. Now moving on to ambient light. This is if you have a living room light on, you know, maybe some glow lights on the side, a hallway light on. You can see even with the lower lumens that both of these have, they actually look pretty fantastic in these environments. Pretty vibrant colors. I would say in terms of comparison, they look almost identical. This is the comparison where I thought the Roku Cube would stand out more because it has a little bit more lumens, but the reality here, 50 doesn't seem to make a big enough difference to actually matter in this case. And moving on to the best environment to use them in, that is full darkness, and they look absolutely fantastic. No, this is not a 4K projector, but as you guys can see, bright, vibrant colors from both of them, really clear 1080p, and I have a super large screen that I can just throw on my back wall. So if you're deciding which one to purchase based on brightness and video quality, in this case, although this one has HDR10 and this one has 50 more lumens, it's really not that big of a difference where I think any of you would really notice. So it's not really a factor. Just keep in mind that both partial and complete darkness are the best environments, and they look great in the